Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising 2021. Sagittarius, I have good news for you this year. I want to make a quick summary before I delve into the details so you know what to expect. 2021 is when the so-called karma or desire houses of Sagittarius will be activated. The desire houses are the ones that are the 3rd, the 7th, and the 11th from your own sign. And according to ancient astrology, when these houses are activated, we are able to fulfill our desires because there are different reasons that we come on earth. Some, there are 4 reasons everyone comes on earth for: to pay off karma, these are the karmic houses, for liberation, others are there is also purpose to come for material, financial success, these are the earth houses, and there are houses for self-growth, these are the dharma houses. But you're getting activated the karma or desire houses in 2021 by Saturn and Jupiter, by the North Node, and by Mercury retrograde. It goes retrograde everywhere in those 3 houses. So this year you're gonna come closer to a big desire of yours. And not only that, when the desire houses are activated, ancient astrology tells us that we get to manifest what we want. There is a song, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. Well, usually we get what we need the rest of the time when planets activate other houses. What is good for us according to divine plan, which might not feel like it's good for us from our own perspective, because it might not necessarily what we desire, might not necessarily be what we desire. But when the karma houses, karma, desire, not karma, karma, the desire houses are activated by the planets that manifest, this is when our personal desires, where your heart is, something that your own ego wants, you can manifest it and make it happen. So that's some of the good news. And we'll go into it step by step for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. But I just wanted to make the summary. And let's start a little bit with a recap. For the past 2.5 years, Saturn has been in your 2nd house. Jupiter in the last year as well, 2020. So the biggest test and the biggest learning lessons you had, especially if you're ascendant in Sagittarius, to a lesser degree Sun and Moon, but still, were about finances. Were about how to manage your finances and resources, how to become more mature there, how to manifest materially. They were more of a material nature, of a survival, resources nature type of thing. Some of you maybe had their finances restricted in some way, so they can learn to manage them better, so you can learn to, not only manage, but to respect finances and resources, to be more mature about those matters. Others of you consciously restricted your own expenses and your finances because you were trying to save for something, or because you were trying, usually to buy something, to save something. That's the best case when you consciously restrict yourself. But a lot of your mental and physical energy was going to deal with such matters: resources, financial stability of your family, material manifestation in the world. But because Saturn was involved, Saturn always gives restrictions there and worries. And hopefully Jupiter in the last year, 2020, kind of brought up some opportunities financially there as well. But Jupiter was extremely weak because Jupiter is the planet that gives us something easy, but Saturn delays something for us and blocks it and makes us work very hard for it. It doesn't mean it does not give it to us, but we really have to put a lot of efforts. And for you, it was financial stability, resources, and self-worth as well. That's a house of self-worth. But because Jupiter is very weak in Capricorn, it might have just expanded the worries of Saturn. But hopefully now I know a few people with Sagittarius rising that I've been observing that they've been having a few financial opportunities appear, but it was always very long drawn out and difficult in the last couple of years. But hopefully you learn to manage your resources, you kind of consciously learn, and a lot of you probably realize that you don't need as many things as you thought before. Saturn wants to trim the necessary when it comes to, some of you might have given away clothes or possessions, even cut them off, learn to take care of them better. But a lot of you might have, especially with the recession in 2020, might have realized that, and the pandemic, that so many material possessions are, or physical enjoyments as well. This is the second house, physical pleasures, and that we don't need as much as we thought we need. And Sagittarius, you are the one that realized that hopefully the most. And your also second house on the deep spiritual level is your self-worth. So some of you maybe did not even have to deal with financial material issues so much as having to reevaluate their own worth. And sometimes, especially at the beginning of Saturn transit in the second house, maybe 2018 or 19, the self-worth of a person is hit hard. And Saturn wants you to build more solid self-worth based on something more long-lasting rather than build on sandy foundations, Sometimes people's self-worth is based on how much I have in the bank, or how young I look, or do I have pretty clothes, or am I as slim as the girl next door, or am I making as much money as my colleagues. Sometimes people base out their self-worth on such external things. And when Saturn passes through the second house, Saturn wants you to anchor the self-worth on something more enduring and long-lasting. So hopefully you work through those matters. But now when Saturn and Jupiter both come out of your second house, some of you also learn to restrict their food. Some of you had to deal with dental issues when Saturn transits the second house, which rules the mouth. It also rules what we put in the mouth, basically what we eat. Some of you basically had to use willpower and strength and self-discipline, which is what Saturn is, to retrain yourself, your appetites, the second house, to retrain what you allow into your body and to make it your new normal, basically. So some of you could have restrained certain food groups or things that, put in your mouth, whatever substances it is. Others, second house can rule your style, your beauty style, what you consider attractive, what you consider valuable. And with Saturn transiting there, a lot of you, especially the ascendant, maybe the moon sign as well, the sun sign to a lesser degree, if you're sun sign Sagittarius, but you had to, some of you changed their tastes in things. They made them more, they simplified them, they streamlined them, they made them more elegant. This is the nature of Saturn, and they introduced new tastes of Saturn being there, whether in food or whether in Saturn wants more simplicity, something less, more simplicity, while Jupiter introduces new such tastes and what you consider valuable. All right, and when Saturn and Jupiter start moving out from your second house, they enter the third house from December 2021, but they will be there for the whole from December 2020, but they will be there in your third house the whole 2021, and Saturn will stay there up till 2023, so for 2 full years. So your lessons will change so much, and the area of social activity and the area of activity that you are and what you're thinking about will shift. You'll notice it very strongly. It's like you've learned those lessons, you're moving on to other lessons. You've learned the lessons of scarcity of resources or how to manage those resources. And now there is a different set of duties and responsibility to attend to. But there is something very cool that is happening when Saturn moves from the second house from your sign. In ancient astrology, there is something they call Sadesati, the 7-year period while Saturn is transiting the sign before, the sign of, and the sign after your moon sign, and they even say your ascendant sign, and to a lesser degree the sun sign. So they would say it's like a 7-year. I've seen it most strongly when it's the moon sign and the ascendant. So they call it the ascendant, even not the ascendant so much, the moon sign especially. So basically the last 7 years, go back from 2013, basically, something like that. till 2020, including Saturn was passing the sign before the sign of your ascendant or moon or sun, and the sign after that. So in ancient astrology, they were calling it Sagittarius, the 7-year hole, like you fall in a hole in the ground, and it's kind of very hard to manifest. And it's because Saturn suppresses the vitality of the main, the sun, the ascendant, or the moon, especially the moon. The ancient focused on the moon and the ascendant second, but still, because we're using the sun sign as well, I'm going to use it for it. So this is when it tends to give the toughest lessons, that when it's in the sign before, after, and before, of, and after. And that takes 7 years, guys. And I felt it very strongly with my moon sign. It's almost like I was in some kind of a bit of a dark spot for 7 years. It's not like life stopped, but it was so hard to manifest what my heart desired. It was so hard to, the challenges, it was almost like I was there in a well and I'm here. I want to do something, but I was in that well, And I've seen it many times with clients as well, especially if you're ascendant and moon in Sagittarius. Okay, let's say sun as well. So it's kind of, they called it even the dark night of the soul. I wouldn't go so far as calling it the dark night of the soul, but it's just a time of when contraction happen of your vitality, when it's kind of withdrawing, more challenges happen. And the ancients said the moment Saturn moves in the third sign, so we're counting it yours as the first, then the second. Saturn's been for 2.5 years here, and then it's moving in the third sign from your ascendant or moon. Okay, let's say the sun as well. This is when the shackles fall off. This is when the outer restrictions and everything that was slowed down around you starts to lift up. And this is when you can start with your own efforts to mold reality according to how you want it to be, and to see the results that you want. It's not like you didn't do anything for the past 7 years, but almost always, when Saturn transits those signs, as they call it, the 7-year period, the lessons that come, the things that manifest are not always aligned with our own desire. And maybe we've gained some wonderful things during that time as well, but maybe it's not something that you dreamed of or wanted and according to your plan, and it was more testing. Everything always has a silver lining, but now it's like what you're gonna start doing for the next 2 years, especially very strongly 2022, because Jupiter is also there, is that you finally start feeling, okay, things are going like I want them to. Okay, I can finally start manifesting and becoming visible. Just like when Saturn is, when the sun is too close to Saturn, Saturn becomes invisible, so its power is taken away. So the same way, Saturn has to move away from your sign, whether your sun is there, your moon or ascendant, and when it's in this relationship of third sign from yours, and the third sign is your willpower in ancient astrology. So Saturn going there allows you to, you see the third house, the 7th and the 11th, but we're talking about the third now, is the things that we desire. So when Saturn goes there, you'll be able to work on those things for 2 years, things that you desire, how you envision them. Plus the third house in ancient astrology rules courage and strength and willpower. And when these two powerful planets, the biggest planets in our solar system, Saturn and Jupiter, they imagine your willpower increases. Jupiter will grow it and expand your willpower and courage to do difficult things. They call the third house the house of difficult things because it's the house of learning skills and making things happen with your hands. Like, for example, the first house might be the idea you have when you plan. The second house is you find the resources, and the third house is you build up whatever idea you did with your hands. So it needs skills, it needs patience and know-how. And Saturn transiting there in Jupiter give you exactly those things. So maybe some idea you've been having for years, and you finally be able to put it together, to see it emerge, to see it become visible. So now manifests. So now that desire, this idea becomes reality. when Saturn and Jupiter trigger the third house from your sun, moon, or ascendant. And till then it was like preparation time, to get the idea or to get the resources, to learn how to manage them, and now put it together. Third house rules the hands, actual building stuff, And not only that, to have the courage and overcome the fear, So Saturn and Jupiter, it's fantastic. The ancients said when Saturn transits the third house from ascendant or sun or moon, you finally get to manifest and to have the know-how, the courage, the willpower, But it's not going to happen overnight. It might take 2 years because Saturn is there 2 years, So how can it also play out? The moment it enters your house, your third house, Saturn and Jupiter, they will put you on a path of learning as well. Because the third house is to acquire skills. And a lot of you Sagittarius might find yourself like learning something you've always been afraid to do, like learn a new language, learn to drive a car, learn to, to knit, learn to learn a new profession, learn new skills. You become a student when Saturn and Jupiter enter your third house. If you have any opportunity to learn, especially like a training, almost like hands-on experience rather than learn some kind of theories only. No, this is more like going to the laboratory, test things, or work with jumping with both feet and starting your own. The third house rules the self-made business and self-made wealth as well. So starting and doing it, and in the process you've learned while you're doing it. And take some quick courses, trainings, instructional trainings and conferences. You're gonna see your interest in such things increase a lot. And it's a slow process learning a new skill, like learning a language. It takes a couple of years. That's the duration of Saturn transiting the third house. But Jupiter will bring you the big enthusiasm to finally get yourself moving in that direction, to learn what you need to learn, whatever skill it is, whatever, whether it's to make a website, whether it's to run a business. These are all third house skills. How to communicate, how third house rules media. If you want to learn how to make videos, if you want to learn how to conquer social media and create a business online, wow, this is all third house skills and activities. You'll be able to do that. I told you that the third house is self-made wealth in ancient astrology. It's nothing that you inherit. It's nothing that comes to you by merit or through other people. No, the wealth that you can create when Saturn and Jupiter are in the third house comes through your own skills. What qualities, what skills you've learned, your communication, whatever. For some, it might be doing something pottery with hands or painting. For another, might be writing. For another, might be making videos like me, or teaching, or instructionals of any sort, making websites. Whatever your skill is, you can now make it into a business. You can turn it into a commercial activity. You can turn it into, you can bring it to audience in some way and organize it into a commercial entity of some sort. Because third house on another level rules business. Business is all about third house things. Using your skills, using your intellect. Sales rules the third house. So some of you might go on a journey to master sales, to master marketing, advertising. Saturn, the third house rules all of those things. How do you engage with others in communication, present them ideas, and get them on your side? Third house rules associates, as well.